we are no doubt in difficult times, but as we all know that it is the difficult times only which actually make us stronger. It is the difficult times which make us stronger. And I think those of us who will come out of these difficult times will come out much stronger for the future. Now, your subject is very interesting. Subject is very interesting. Together we can. It does remind me of Barack Obama. And it, as Hari rightly said, it does look like a political jargon. But believe me, it is together that we can. Together does not mean the members of the chamber getting together. Together, in my opinion, would be the family members of each of your companies, enterprise, what have you, your business, all of them, their families, their children, you, your family, your business. This all is together. Together is the larger family that we have. And that concept is the number one concept that I would like to actually take forward today in our way forward. Have we been able to create a larger family concept? If you remember, or if you recall, or many of you would have experienced, there used to be a huge joint family once upon a time. We all used to live in our joint families with our grandparents, with the brothers of the grandparents, sisters of the grandparents. Sisters means not those who were married, but those who got widowed. All of them on one single roof. And the patriarch of the family was responsible for taking care of every need of those people. I think let's look at this crisis and our business as getting back to that joint family concept. Let us open a larger umbrella and let us look at all these things and see if that joint family, I know we have become all nuclear families, people have gone out to work, people do not come back, some of them have forgotten their villages. But let's think that we are now in a situation where our joint family is not the joint family of our blood relations. This is the joint family of people who work with us, people who are actually dependent on their daily bread from us. We are the ones who supply them, their families. We support their families, and therefore we must look at it that way. Why I say all this is also from experience. I ran two companies, one a Navaratna and another a Maharatna company of the government of India. And I never said that the family of the company was confined to the employees of the company. I said number of employees multiplied by 5 is their average size of the family. Number of contractors, their employees, their labor, multiplied 5 is the number of people who are dependent on the business. And therefore, that is the larger family. Now, that is my larger family, and the job to provide safety net to the larger family is on me. I just cite a small example here to tell you how you should actually walk the talk. When I joined NBCC, and that goes to show in my CV, it was actually a sick company. I was with the DLF, and we were in a private company. Salaries were very nice, but CMD of a public sector company, an offer looked very attractive. The balance sheet of public sector companies on those days were not, technically speaking, within inverted comma transparent. Because the CAG used to take a very lenient view, it used to give paras, and there were some 32, 33 paras in the CAG report, which coming from a private sector, I didn't give it the amount of I didn't give the amount of importance that it should be given, and therefore I realized that the profit that was being shown in the balance sheet was menial, and which actually was a textbook profit. Actually, the company was bleeding. When I came, I realized the salaries were unpaid, the statutory dues were unpaid. So believe me, I said openly in the forum, and it turned out to be very difficult later on in having a regular fight with my wife, was that I said that I will not take salary until I can disburse salaries. Touch wood, because of my private sector background, the savings that I had, I could manage the family for 6 months. Some of us may find it difficult to do so, and therefore I would suggest you look at, if you want to follow this example, look at what are the other basic needs of your family, and whether that is being taken care of, some flat rental, some house rental, some property earnings in your village or something, and demonstrate to the people from the front that you were taken a salary cut. The second thing would be give them IOUs. You cannot pay salaries all the time. Jobs are not easy to come by. Giving a pink slip is very easy, but at sometimes you give a pink slip and maybe, at the moment those people go back to their villages. They cannot form a union, they cannot strike, they cannot stop your gates. But it will boomerang someday or the other. If you give them a IOU slip, say that, beta, I owe you this amount of money, but now I am only able to give you this much. And believe me, if you go into the family concept, you will know each and every individual. You will know their family situation in the villages. If they are living in the BPL community, they are getting today a lot of facilities from the government. Why did the present government in West Bengal do so well? Despite all the allegations of corruption, allegations of cut money, allegations of the nephew becoming more powerful than the others. Kerala also has voted back the same government. I'm sure you will at some stage explain to me why. But let me tell you the Bengal thing, because I was working in a commission which was supposed to work for the rights of the citizen of the state. And it is not a public service commission. It is a right to public service. So it works on the rights of the public. Actually, some of you know the government system. If some of you know the government system, every department has a citizens charter, which there's a lot of fanfare. The minister comes, the CMS comes, and they garland each other and they declare the citizens charter. On the ground, nothing is implemented, believe me. And when I say on the ground, I have visited personally. Although I was given the status of a cabinet secretary, Government of India, not the salary, the status of a minister of state. But I didn't bother about the status. I went and visited panchayats. I went and sat in panchayat office. I went and sat with the BDO. And I tried to understand how shallow our government systems of delivery is. So the West Bengal government, there's a very interesting thing. Although it looks very funny, when I took it up with the Government of India, they told me that we have a National Food Security Act, by which we've done a survey of all the BPLs. And the average BPL in the country is 30%. Maybe in Kerala it's less, 30%. But Bengal is showing a BPL of 80%. How do you think the central government can allocate rice from FCI for 80% of Bengal population and 30% of the others. Logical? What this lady did was, she issued the National Food Security Act has issued a digital card to everybody. You can go with that card to the ration shop and draw your ration. Now, these people who are actually technically not coming in that list, she issued them different kind of slips, a green slip, a white slip, all those kinds of things. And they were eligible to different kind of facilities. If the BPL rice was 2 rupees, some people were eligible for 6 rupees, some people eligible for 16 rupees, those kind of things. So everybody got the basic food for their family from the system. And when the Amphan and other reliefs came, and they got the dal, some people gave aloo, some people gave food, all that they got. So despite the Amphan situation, there was no shortage of, there was bread on the table 2 times a day. You could say like that. Now, once that was there, the basic poor was very happy with the government. For however it came, whatever way it came, was a different way. Now, there was a lot of pilferage in between, and how much went in. I don't know whether it was a Rajiv Gandhi's theory of 30 paisa going down of every rupee. But some paisa went away. I am told about 15-20%, but balance went to the people. The people got it. And in our country, the strange thing, we have accepted corruption as a way of life. And corruption existed from the Mughal times. And I have this small story which my grandmother told me, and it works as a very good management lesson. Now, when my grandmother's marriage was being fixed, my grandfather used to work in those days the Royal Postal Service, British Postal Service, which today is something like the Indian Postal Service, somewhere like that. Now, when she used to, her family was in Bangladesh, and my grandfather's family was in India. So there was no the girl seeing boy or anything. Somebody brought this thing, and my grandmother's grandmother sat in a meeting, and it was decided whether this boy is right for our girl. And then the elders explained that he has a government job, he has this job, he has a permanent job, he has so much salary. The grandmother's grandmother asked one question: "Upri kitna hai?" Salary to hai, but over and above the salary, how much does he get? So this concept has somehow come into our system, and this concept is going on. So even the poor people in the villages don't mind if the guy who delivers it is taking a little bit from there. So that's how the West Bengal government could actually tell the people that we were with you. Those who are promising you Sonar Bangla, and those who are promising you this, that, are only promises. On the ground, we have done. I'm sure Kerala also has done something on the ground. Otherwise, the system of the same government coming back again is very rare in Kerala. And especially going by the situation that at least in Bengal, the left is in a dire state. In Kerala, the left seems to be better organized. So with that prelude, let me just draw you to this few points that I have put in the form of the design thinking process. Design thinking process, the management schools design new jargons. It's old wine in a new bottle, in my opinion. Some of you must be thinking after going through this, isme naya kya hai? What the hell is there? But if some of it we start applying ourselves, we realize that how important it is that we actually correlate this with what we are talking about or what we want to practice in life. Now, let's say the first phase of this, I have said, is the inspiration stage. That means once having established the larger joint family, once having established the larger responsibility of business leaders like you, once having established that the support system of this entire larger family depends on you, once having established that you have to now give a lead from the front, and therefore now you have a family, you have a big family, you have everybody in the family. So you have to start understanding what each individual needs. Believe me, I am one person who teaches that antithesis of HRM. There is no human resource management. There is no human resource. Those of you who are HR professionals, please don't get startled just now. Give me a few minutes to explain to you what I'm trying to say. HR, we are saying human, and R, we are saying resource. Is human a resource? Supposing you are four brothers growing up in the same family. Your food is coming from your father's paddy fields. The fish is coming from the river nearby, and you all are eating the same thing. Your amma is all packing up, curd rice and achar for you for lunch. You are taking it for lunch. You eat the same thing. You come back and the dinner is the same. And you grow up, you all went to the same school. And then when you come out of 12th, you come out with different kinds of grades. One goes to the IIT, one goes to somewhere else, one goes to, something like that. So is human a resource? Having fed the children the same thing, having given them the same environment, having sung the same lullaby to them, having taken them to the temple or the church every day, every Sunday morning to the church or to the temple for all functions, have they come out to be the same thing? Is it like putting 1 liter of petrol in an ambassador car and it will run, say, 12 kilometers? You put another 1 liter of petrol in another ambassador car, it will again run 12 kilometers. So it is not that you have an input and you have a throughput and you have a standard output. So human beings are not resources. You can't treat each human being in your larger family as equal to the other. They will have separate needs, they will have separate visions, they will have separate aspirations, and they will have separate thinking. I am not coming to the ethics part of it. Yes, they will have separate ethics. They will have separate sanskara of the way they have been brought up in life. And those things are something that I want you to understand. And I want you to sit down and understand. You can do it yourself. You can have a core group of people who actually are very close to you, whom you bounce on issues. You could sit together and try and understand what is happening in their minds. This is extremely important that you understand, because unless you understand, there is no way forward. So once you have understood, like I used to tell, while in DLF, one of the job was to hand over flats to customers. And to my marketing team and my own finishing team, I used to tell them that when a family comes to see the flat, it is 5 people who see the flat. The husband sees it from his convenience. The wife will see first the kitchen and the store and the puja room from her convenience. The children will see from how they can look out to the balcony, what all they have, do they have a study, do they have a playroom from their convenience. Even the dog will have a convenience. The family dog will also look around and sniff around and approve or disapprove something. So please try and understand that when you try and understand your family, the larger family, apply this larger concept of trying to understand each and every individual. If you have an employee who's poor, on a lower of a D category employee, you should not hesitate. Go to his home, talk to his wife. If he gives you a cup of coffee, do have it. She'll be very happy. She'll tell the entire neighborhood that the boss came and had coffee with us. Have coffee. Ask her what is her expectation. Get friendly with the children. Give them a ball or a toy, and they'll come and tell you, Uncle, I am now not getting this. I'm not getting that. Explain to them that these are difficult times. Maybe good times will come. Just hold on, cooperate with your father, give him support. So once you have understood everything, the time comes to observe. So khali understanding, listening doesn't matter. You observe, and with your team you put them to observe that supposing there is some solution you have found and you have implemented it. Observe and see if it brings some kind of satisfaction. Observe and see if it increases the attendance. Observe and see what happens to them. And then you create what is, I say, is a POV. POV is nothing but a point of view. It is a point of view of the combined family, that this is how we are going to take our way forward. So once you have formulated a point of view and you have said, okay, difficult times, we need to look at different ways of business. We are a manufacturing company. Why don't we try and see if we can manufacture hand sanitizer, sanitation papers, Dettol, Savlon have a monopoly in the market. Can you do an IPR? Can you do something? Can you manufacture something like that? Can you manufacture even masks? Today you have different type of masks and they don't have any kind of IS certification. Push for an IS certification. Make a mask. What is the problem in a mask? Try and understand. Why people do not wear masks? Kejriwal has this unique method. He sees you without a mask, charges you 2,000 rupees fine. You may not be earning 2,000. He charges you 2,000. So two things is happening. One, the police fellow is getting involved in it. The enforcer is always corrupt in our country. He finds a way to make money. Second, the poor fellow, he may not be now earning 2,000 rupees a month, and he is asked to shell out 2,000. Try and understand why this mask is not working in his face. Because once he puts the mask, he can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm telling you, I can't breathe when I put on the mask. So can we create some kind of a situation where the mask is more friendly to me? I can put on a mask as I put on my spectacles. I put on the spectacles to assist me to read. The mask should actually assist me to breathe clean air. Now, can some of you think of doing something like this? I'm just throwing a few ideas. I'm sure you are the main people who will ideate, looking at your strengths and weaknesses of your organization, of your people, of how you have to take care of that, and ideate. Now, after you have ideated, I would always say, although I've written prototype, let's say pilot. Make a pilot. You have ideated, try and run a pilot. Try and run a pilot with a limited group of people who are more susceptible to change, people who are more adjustable to change, people who have less trade union type of attitude. I know in Kerala it's difficult to find the latter part. In Bengal also it is very difficult to find the latter part because people are first very aware of their rights as a citizen, the rights that the Constitution give them, and then they think of anything else. So, but you must test it through a prototype. You must test it, make a prototype, test it, get people on the thing and put it. Then once that is successful, in the larger family, do a storytelling. You could be the storyteller. You could employ somebody as a storyteller. You could take a motivating agency as a storyteller. You could employ me as a storyteller. I mean, I'm just giving you an idea. It's not that you employ me, but yeah, I can do good storytelling to your management, to your boys, to the people who actually are working on your shop floors, to the people who actually give you the product. And do storytelling. You will surely have, you may yourself be a good storyteller. You will be accepted easily by your people because they know you are the head of the family. They know that you are with them. They know you are sacrificing along with them. They know that you've taken a pay cut. They know that you've given up certain perquisites. So they will believe your story much more than anybody else. So do a storytelling. And here I have come to a pilot because the prototype was a couple of them. Pilot will be one which you will drive with full energy every, say, monitoring 24 by 7 to see how it is going. And once the pilot is there, you have successful. You actually have a business model. It may look like a social model. I may be talking like a socialistic guy. Typically, Keralites and Bengalis have little communist in their blood, but I may be speaking like that. But believe me, you will have a business model which you can implement while you go along. So on the way forward, I had these points to tell you. And I'm very uncomfortable with this system of interaction. I have spoken on some of these forums, some chambers, especially a lot on Rotary and other things. It's normally breakfast, you interact with people, come to know people, then you talk to them, and then you have a cup of tea after the breakfast where people come to you, you chat about, you learn something, you give out something. All that happens. So this is how normally I have been used to this. But when Hari requested me, I could not say no. We go a long way back, and we are all public sector, in a way, strugglers at one stage. And we have seen good and bad days. But believe me, we have seen very good days as far as the relation between the public sector corporates and the government was concerned. I think Hari will bear with me. I don't know how many of you here are from the public sector or even from the state public sector. You were given a lot of freedom to actually run your show. And one of the very important things which an additional secretary at that time who was sitting on my board, some of you might have heard of her, Ms. Vinita Rai. She later on became the revenue secretary of the country. From a very illustrious family. Her father, L.P. Singh, was the governor of Home Secretary and the governor of undivided Assam. Her brother, Vijay Singh, was the Defense Secretary of India. Very illustrious family. She told me one simple thing. She said, Arup, you don't give us any trouble. We will not give you any trouble. And believe me, the government upheld to this assurance they gave me. I tried not to give them any trouble. I always believe that the buck stops at my table. I can't push it up to anybody else. If I can't solve a problem, there is no solution to it. I never took no to myself, not even to myself. I never gave myself no as an option. I said my Guruji's dictum, Sankalpa Shuddha Hi Siddh. You take a pure vow, it will happen. It has to happen. Today or tomorrow, it has to happen. So, always I used to do it my way. And we put back that NBCC, which was not paying salaries, statutory dues, made it into a Navaratna company, made it into a listed shareholders company, paid dividends to the government. A government which thought it was a bleeding baby became an earning member of the government. And now you know where NBCC is. I don't have to tell people. Then I went to NTPC and realized that we were living in 35 years old dream. We had set up 35 years old company, and we were living in an old dream with a complacency that what we were doing is the best. We have these, at my time, there were 32 plants. Now there are more, 45, I think. At that time, there were 32 plants. And believe me, we used to live in the well. Each plant was a well. It was the crab effect inside the well. We all used to live in the well and we thought we were the best. Nearer home, you have a Kainkulam project. You have a Kainkulam project which was built on gas. Gas was very cheap, $12, $13, $15 when it was built. Suddenly it became $110. The total power became unviable. Kerala, although had a PPA with the plant, refused to take the power. The other beneficiaries like Maharashtra and all refused to take the power. So there was no point in running the plant, when the power was not getting sold. But we had 350 people in the plant. And like a public sector, typical, almost I won't say everyone, 90% of the people there were Keralites. And out of the 90%, 85% of them had a bureaucrat as a relation, the state or the center, or had a minister as a relation. So you could not even touch them. You couldn't even tell them, go to some other plant and work. Now, these are often problems that we face in public sector, which is easier in private sector. You're more flexibility to give them different kind of jobs. Now, Kainkulam is in backwaters. It's near Alleppey. I could not say, being in a public sector, that we'll put up some houseboats over there as a tourism. Unfortunately, tourism also is now gone. But, I couldn't diversify that. So we had to look for new ways. We looked at solar. We looked very actively at getting gas from Cochin. As you said, Cochin has a port. There the gas could come from in ships, and we built 103 kilometers of pipeline along the coast, which was agreed. I could also push and get an environmental clearance, although in the God's own country, environmental clearance comes first, everything else comes second. But since I was in the sea beyond the coast, the SEZ issues did come in that I'm just that zone which is 500 meters from the thing, but I could manage to get it. But then, we had to get gas at a cheaper price. Now, today the Middle East is in deep trouble. They're begging others. At that time, they were very big. Mr. T.K. Nair, who was the principal secretary to the Prime Minister, was also looking after coordinating with the Middle East, especially Oman, especially others, on behalf of Government of India. And he tried his best to try and get cheap gas. At one time, he told me, Arup, are you willing to give the Qatari government some share in Kainkulam project? I said, fine, I'll give them share, but they have to give gas. Now, once they agreed to give gas on a cheaper price, other forces played, national and international, and they went back. So again, we came to zero, and therefore the pipeline was also not constructed, although it was increasing the tariff slightly marginally, but the pipeline would have been good. So, these kind of things come in life, hurdles come in life. It is not that we think that now it is Corona, Ure Baba, what is going to happen? These are, all those things have been isolated coronas, how you handle them. So when I went to NTPC, as I was talking to you, we were living in these wells and we thought we were the best in the world. Why? Because there was something called a third party agreement, TPA, with every state. You buy power from me, you don't pay me, I disconnect. Which I knew will become obsolete one day. And it did become in January 2011, the government passed an order saying that public sector companies will have no more monopoly on TPAs. So we had to do a lot of change, and I'm not going to take you through that. If any of you are interested, you can go to YouTube see my last board address where I have given a report card of my tenure to the board. I talk of all this. You will have to have the patience to go through it to understand how I have sort of even made a paradigm change in a very huge company like NTPC. I'll probably take a stop here and try and address some issues that has been sent to me. I don't know whether I am competent to address all that, but I'll just tell you, where do we go? Now, believe me, where do we go from here is something that you have to decide with your court team. After following the understanding, observation, mode and others within your larger extended family, and you have to actually make a roadmap as to where do you go on a short term and a long term. If you already have a corporate plan, I think time is there to throw it in the dustbin, make a fresh, make a corporate plan, but make a micro and a mini corporate plan. Because today things are changing very fast. So we don't know where do we go from here. I wish I could give you an answer. But every one of you, those who are in this meeting, believe me, you will yourself find a route. Let's say, even if you don't believe in God, let's say somebody will guide you to a route. Once you try and understand what you've been doing, what you want to do, what government can do. I think I heard your president address initially that we should not expect anything from the government. Believe me, the government is itself stressed. Where is the money? They are keeping on increasing petrol and diesel prices. We guys are the ones who are affected. The Aam Janta is not, so nobody is making a noise. But we are paying out of our nose, So wait, what the government can do? I think nothing, but on as a chamber on policy issues, you can fight with them. Like there's a larger fight going on the patent issue, on the IPA, on the worldwide WTO patent board. It's a very good thing because that we are in India the largest pharmacy in the world. And I don't know how many of you in this forum are running pharmacy companies. Please try and see whether you can overcome the IPR rules, whether you can do something which is helps the COVID, whether you can generate it at a reasonable price. Believe me, I do not recommend that anybody should sell his house and make a drug or sell it out. I see a lot of television programs as somebody has sold everything, his gari. It's like the monk who sold his Ferrari, sold his gari and distributed the money. All that is bunkam. It goes on for a little while. It has to be self-sustaining. You can cut down the fat, cut down your requirements, but you still need a little bit of margins to run your setup. Now, economic packages, can the government give any economic package? I don't know. I have, believe me, stopped listening to these budgets because there are all budgets and sub-budgets. Every 3 months, some budget comes. I live in a family of 4. We have a support system of 10. We cannot run with less than this. We do not know how I will run the support system. Fortunately, the IIT has given me a job, pays me money. Otherwise, public sector people don't get pension. Hari will vouch for it. At least NTPC takes care of our medical requirements. So that way I am quite protected. So I personally don't have a way forward or a plan on personal front. How can I advise anybody else? But if some business house has done some kind of analysis of what I explained to you, then if I can see the case, probably I can also apply my mind and tell the management, yes, why don't you think like this? It could be from my experience, I could give you a sort of out of the box way of looking at things. And vaccination, I don't know. As I said, we went overboard, we went deja vu. Being the pharmacy of the world, we couldn't even protect our own citizens that they get enough vaccinations. Now, look at the situation. My wife has had one dose and she got the appointment for the next dose. Or before the date of the appointment, she gets an SMS that your appointment is cancelled. Things of that sort are happening galore. There is a suggestion that disaster management should be in private sector. Why should disaster management be? It is in private sector, believe. Those of you who face disaster in your business or your establishment are actually managing things privately. You are not going to the government. Government is not giving you anything. So if you want to make a larger platform, if you want to create a disaster management fund or a body or a subcommittee in your chamber, please do. Let the industry contribute. In the name of COVID, now they have given an exemption of CSR. Please check up your members, what is their CSR commitment, and not 2%, raise it to 4% at this time. And calculate, if you calculate 4% of the profits of all your members, how much is the CSR? Out of this, how much have they spent? Can they allow the chamber to give them ideas to spend the rest? This is one idea that can come through the chamber and its present and sensitizing the public. Yes, please use. There are a lot of IT firms who have lost out business. They have infrastructure available. They have software available. Try and give them some chota mota business and see how you can, spread, sensitize people. Go to the villages, and how does now almost everybody has a smartphone or television jingles or something like that. Maybe the chamber sponsors some television program. At one time, while in NBCC, we had sponsored classic black and white movies once in a week. In NTPC also, I followed that, in which we talked about things in the break. We talked about fly ash in NTPC, how they should use fly ash. We talked about health, safety, all those things. See if the chamber can take a slot from local Doordarshan, take a slot on an IOU basis, pay them later, and play some old Malayali movies, which are classic movies, and in between the movies, use some kind of mechanism using the software companies that are there to sensitize, make jingles, make small this thing, sensitize public. And is the present infrastructure adequate? Believe me, there is no one size fit all. Some places have very good infrastructure, some places have very bad. Some people have, in fact, very poor planning in it. I have seen in Bengal all the schools and all which were outside the villages, a little out. They are made into COVID, not hospitals exactly, recoveries. That time, first time was fair weather, now the rains are coming. They had made machans in fields where people could just go and relax, those who had the COVID. He stays in a machan, probably in his own field. His house, his family will come twice a day, leave a tiffin carrier maybe 200 meters away from him and go. He will eat, he will wash, and he will then put it back, and the family will take it. So these kind of infrastructure can be created. It is not the government's job only to create infrastructure, it is the society's job. See if the chamber can help. I know Kerala is, hardly you have villages, and I used to drive from Cochin to Ernakulam. Am I right? I think I used to drive from Cochin to Ernakulam. Throughout, if you wanted to take a leak, there wasn't a place where you could stop the car because one village finished and the next one came up. So the villages are very conscious. Education system is very high. Can the villagers, the panchayats, the village bodies, can they do something? I know in Bengal, they had actually barricaded the whole village with bamboos. Nobody could enter. Not even the Bengali boys who had gone out to work. They would only enter after 10 days they lived in the field or in the machan or school or in the college. Now, this kind of infrastructure has to be self-created. No government can create the infrastructure. Augmenting infra, yes, chamber can do. Please see where you can augment infra once you've created a kitty out of this the CSR funds of your members. Create a kitty, augment infrastructure, think of ideas, what works in Kerala, think of ideas whether you can create some tree houses or machan type of things in the fields, sponsored by the chamber, and those who have symptoms of COVID can just isolate from, because in the villages the houses are too small in one room, 3-4 people stay. So isolating is very difficult. They can go and isolate there. And how do we do MIS, social media? As I told you just now, engage some of these agencies, put them under a platform, engage the Doordarshan, engage some kind of a social media platform. But be careful on social media. I mean, we should also spread around news, because too many posts are there on social media. People are getting cheated by the social media on medicines, on oxygen. People are getting wrong information, long write-ups, and they are getting more scared and psychologically down in the social media. So social media has created, I think, more negativity than positivity as far as we are concerned. Law enforcement, somebody wanted to know what law enforcement should do. Law enforcement in our country, the people flop. You give anybody law in that fellow's hand, he will see. So global assistance is coming to us, has been coming to us. We have been trying to act smart earlier in trying to give global assistance, and we were not capable. I think we've almost got through the IPR hurdle. If that is so, if any of you have running pharmacies, if any of you do pharmaceutical companies, please encourage them to actually set up this, take some technology from somewhere. Yes, in this case, maybe if there's a large capital expense required, that is where the chamber can go to the government and help them get a capital infusion, maybe on a long-term soft loan basis. So therefore, the last point that was made was, how do we create a route to leave all this behind? Believe me, we had something like this 100 years ago. We didn't have a route. We didn't have a route even today. I don't know whether we'll have a route, but the way forward that we discussed in the beginning of our, if you can document it also, it will tomorrow be a route for the next generation of people who come to chamber and lead the chambers and be members of the chamber. Thank you very much here. I'll close it.